Hey, Soldier 7 here, and as you know, just recently a decade has just come to a close and we're now in a new one. And in this video, I'm going to be doing my pick, at least for at least the top 5 games of that decade. So yeah, in this video, I'll be doing this is just my personal list, but this is me particular. But yeah, in this video, I'm going to be doing the top 5 best video games of the 2010s, as in from the year 2010 to 2019. So yeah, granted, this may not be everybody's list, but it's mine particularly. Not everybody's going to agree. That's okay, whatever. But this is my list, and I'm going to go with it. And yeah, I'm gonna do it. This is my once again. This is my top 5 best video games of the 2010s, and I'm gonna go from bottom to top. And here we go. At number 5 is Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. Now, granted, as you know, some of you probably aren't surprised. If you know me, if you know this channel, you know I'm a Resident Evil fanboy. So you know Resident Evil games are going to make it on this list, at least one. So yeah, obviously it's going to make the list regardless. But yeah, but I didn't just pick this game just because I was a Resident Evil fanboy. But I'll get into that in just a minute. But yeah, it's in my top 5, Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. Now, I will say this, I understand it's not perfect, and it did receive some criticism, which, including from myself, like, I myself was critical of certain things about the game, like the storyline, some of the multiplayer modes, and so forth, but nevertheless, I still thought it was an interesting experience. Like, I really do. Despite its flaws, I still think it was still somewhat of an interesting experience. Even though, yeah, it's not your traditional Resident Evil game. Um, like it's not like the camera angle thing that you had with the early Resident Evil games, and then the third person view that you had in 4, 5, and 6. You have a third person view for third person mode, I meant. But yeah, you had that in this, and like I said, it's not perfect. Some of the multiplayer I didn't like, the storyline in general I didn't like, but nevertheless, I still enjoyed the gameplay regardless. But the thing that really, got to me with this game, the reason why I think I had to put it on number 5, because the one thing that I really enjoyed about it was the co-op. Like, this was probably, this is probably one of the funnest games I ever played on co-op. Like, when I would get in a game or invite people into a game, like on a level or something, it was just kind of fun just playing, like, good old-fashioned co-op in general. And like I said, some of the multiplayer modes I did not like, some of them I did. But it's a 50-50 right there for multiplayer. But the thing that really got to me was the co-op. Just having people come in and play alongside them, and some of the characters had some cool features and everything. So you put those together, I thought, it was a pretty good combination. So yeah. So I liked it. That's kind of why I put it in my top 5 list, and that's kind of why I gave it number 5. Yeah, it wasn't perfect, but the things I liked about it were pretty good. But yeah, that's number 5. Now moving on, number 4, Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception. And granted, this game wasn't perfect either. There were certain things I didn't like about it, but I will say this, I still loved it a whole lot. I thought it was great. Yeah, the multiplayer wasn't as good as Uncharted 2. Neither was the game in general. was as good as Uncharted 2, and keep in mind, Uncharted is probably number 4 when it comes to my top 5 favorite franchise, and the reason why was because of Uncharted 2. But nevertheless, even though it didn't live up to Uncharted 2, I enjoyed the gameplay, I enjoyed the campaign, I enjoyed the multiplayer. Yes, granted, it didn't live up to Uncharted 2, and that's okay because I still enjoyed the hell out of it. It was a lot of fun. Just not Uncharted 2 like Uncharted 2 just had a bigger edge. It was better. I would put it on this list, but it came out in 2009, so yeah, that's why it's not on here. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, for some of the reasons why I liked Uncharted 2, that's why I put Uncharted 3 on here. It's just less of Uncharted 2, but yeah. Uncharted 3, good game, deserves to be on the list for number 4. So yeah, Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception is number 4. Now moving on, number 3, Yakuza 0. And yeah, let me just say this. This game not only became my favorite Yakuza game, but it moved up to being the Yakuza franchise. After I played this game, the Yakuza franchise moved up into my top 5 favorite franchises. Like, it's number 5 at my favorite franchise. Even though, yeah, even though Uncharted is number 4, but like I said, Yakuza 0 is, I prefer that over Uncharted 3, but Uncharted 2, on the other hand, yeah, that's a different story. But yeah, Yakuza 0 was amazing. It's amazing. It's still it's the best Yakuza game of all times. Before that, my favorite Yakuza game was the third one. I still like that one, but yeah. But when I played this game, Yakuza 0, I was like, oh man, this is freaking awesome. Like, it's got this whole like the storyline was interesting, the whole concept of like going back to the 80s and everything. It just goes back to the beginning, back where it all started for Kazuma Kiryu and Majima and so forth. I thought that was interesting. I hope we can get another Yakuza game like that where it takes place in the 80s and so forth. Like, it was just cool. Like, I don't know if it was like that over there in the year 1988, but nevertheless, it was awesome. So yeah, I played the shit out of that game, as I do with all the Yakuza games, because I want to go around and get everything. But yeah, so yeah, that's my list for number 3, Yakuza 0. If you've not played it, definitely go get it if you got a PlayStation or a PC or whatever, because I think it's now on other consoles now. But yeah, great game, a good one to start out on. It's the best out of all of them. So yeah, hands down, Yakuza 0, best Yakuza game, and yeah, I put it on number 3 on this list. Okay, so moving on, number 2, Tekken Tag Tournament 2, and as you know, my second favorite video game franchise is Tekken. But for this decade, I had to go with Tag Tournament 2. I just kind of liked the whole concept of like a tag team thing. I thought it was better than, some of the Tekken games that came before it, even came after it, like Tekken 7. Tekken 7 was still good, but it wasn't as good as, Tag Tournament 2. I enjoyed Tag Tournament 2 a lot more. Like, I liked the idea of like dressing up your character and everything, and even adding some special moves, like if you put a gun on them, you can use it, or if you use certain other types of weapons, you can use those. But yeah, not that you couldn't do that. I think you could do that in Tekken 6, but I don't know. I haven't played Tekken 6 in a long time. But yeah, that's all I'm just gonna say about that. But yeah, I played a whole lot of that, and it deserves like a number two on this list. So yeah, I won't go much there. And of course, as you expected, moving on, number 1, Resident Evil 6. And yes, the game was not perfect. I know that there was criticism of it, and like I said, I myself was critical of it to a certain extent. I don't think it was good as Resident Evil 4 or Resident Evil 5. Like, even to this day, Resident Evil 4 is still my favorite game out of the franchise. But yeah, as you know, I'm a diehard Resident Evil fanboy, so I'm probably gonna be a little soft on the franchise. I'm not saying I like everything about the Resident Evil franchise, but I gave this number one, not just because it was Resident Evil, but because, well, I'll just say this. Even though I don't think the game was perfect, it wasn't perfect. It was not perfect. But, like, but not to spoil it for those who didn't play it, you got to do, like, Leon's campaign, you got to do Chris's campaign, then you got Jake's campaign. And I admit, some of the campaigns, not to spoil anything, like Chris, I wasn't really big on Chris's campaign. I just didn't like it that much. Leon, it was okay. It was still very flawed, but I still enjoyed playing as Leon because Leon's my favorite character. So yeah, I'm probably gonna give him a pass just based on that. Then there was, Jake and Sherry, which was probably my least favorite. Not that I hated it, but it was probably my least favorite. It was a little, yeah, it kind of turned me away a bit, but nevertheless. But my favorite was Ada's campaign. I liked playing as Ada Wong. I thought she had the best campaign out of all of it. Even though you had to unlock it, you had to complete all three of the other campaigns to unlock it. I thought it was the best one. I thought it was the most interesting one. The storyline, well, yeah, mixed bag. I wasn't totally critical of it, but I totally didn't praise it. But it had somewhat of an interesting concept to it. So yeah, and then there was some of the multiplayer. Well, I will say this: just like Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, I didn't like the entire multiplayer of Resident Evil 6, but the parts of it that I did like, but the one I did like was just like in Operation Raccoon City co-op, but I also like Mercenaries, not just alone, but also in co-op. I love the Mercenaries, especially in 4 and 5. I actually think I like 5 Mercenaries version better, but that's just me. But still, I mean, yeah, you put a Mercenaries mode like that, obviously I'm in. So yeah, that was a big factor as well, because even if you don't have like multiplayer mode, the one thing I would like to have at least is Mercenaries. So yeah, but yeah, that's my list. Um, if whoever sees this, what's your list? What's your top 5 from the last decade? And yeah, just let me know. Granted, I know this is not everybody's list, not everybody agrees, but if whatever your top 5 is, please do tell. The comment sections are open, and yeah, I'm just gonna leave it here. Once again, number 5, Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. Number 4, Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception. Number 3, Yakuza 0. Number 2, Tekken Tag Tournament 2. And number 1, Resident Evil 6. So, yeah, that's it. Soldier 7, take care.